Hello, folks. I am Adam for today's news. I will be reading and speaking about world news, interesting news to keep you entertained, and news to keep you informed. First thing I got for you here, somebody sent this to me. It's from CBS News.
U.S.
Arrested two, U.S. arrested two for allegedly operating secret Chinese police outposts in New York.
Washington. The FBI arrested two defendants on charges that they set up and operated an illegal Chinese police station in the middle of New York City in order to influence and intimidate dissidents critical of the Chinese government in the U.S., the Justice Department announced Monday. Harry Lu Jinwang, 61, of the Bronx, and Chen Jinping, 59, of Manhattan are charged with conspiring to act as agents of the Chinese government and obstruction of justice. In a 30-page affidavit accompanying a criminal complaint, an FBI agent alleged that the defendants established a secret police station under the direction of China's Ministry of Public Security, MPS, in a Manhattan office building. The Justice Department said the two men helped open the outpost in 2022 and deleted their communications with an MPS official once they became aware of the FBI's investigation. Both are due to appear in federal court in Brooklyn later on Monday. It is simply outrageous that China's Ministry of Public Security thinks it can get away with establishing a secret, illegal police station on U.S. soil to aid its efforts to export repression and subvert our rule of law, said Kurt Ronau, the acting assistant director of the FBI's Counterintelligence Division. This case serves as a powerful reminder that the People's Republic of China will stop at nothing to bend people to their will and silence messages they don't want anyone to hear. China disputed the U.S. assertions about the police stations on Tuesday, according to the Reuters news agency, which quotes Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin as saying they don't exist and that China has a policy of non-interference in other nations' internal affairs. Agence France-Presse reports that Wenbin said political manipulation was behind the arrests. China firmly opposes the U.S. side's slandering, smearing, engaging in political manipulation, and maliciously concocting the so-called transnational repression narrative, AFP quotes him as saying. In a separate complaint, nearly 36 MPS officers were charged with using fake social media accounts to intimidate Chinese dissents in the U.S. and disseminate official PRC government propaganda and narratives to counter the pro-democracy speech of the Chinese dissidents, the Justice Department said, referring to the People's Republic of China. The 34 defendants, all believed to reside in China, allegedly worked as part of an elite task force known as the 9/12 Special Project Working Group to locate and harass Chinese dissidents around the world in an effort to silence criticism of the Chinese government. Others are accused of disrupting online meetings where topics critical of the Chinese government were discussed, according to charging documents unsealed Monday.
Okay, you can read the rest of this in my description box if you like. It's pretty long. I'm going to go to the next one. This is from Newsmax.
Anti-CCP protesters filed $10 million lawsuit against University of Maryland over drone harassment. By sponsor, Token Team Thursday, March 30th. A group of New Federal State of China, NFSC, dissidents reported being harassed by a mysterious drone at a lawful protest at the University of Maryland, Baltimore, UMBC, during a series of events last December that protesters say interfered with the exercise of their constitutionally protected rights on public property, enacted by university officials in a symbiotic relationship with the CCP. The protesters were also reportedly harassed by campus police before being forced out of the campus by the university. A source has provided that the CCP-linked billionaire Sean Wei-jian, whose daughter attends UMBC, has allegedly donated tens of millions of dollars to UMBC for the school's effort to remove NFSC protesters. It will be interesting to see if this alleged secret donation took place as we follow through the course of this new legal action by NFSC protesters. The group is pushing back with a civil complaint filed last Friday, charging UMBC and Sean Wei-Jian with 5 counts of illegal conduct and demanding at least $10 million in damages. The action arises from restrictions to an interference with the plaintiffs in the exercise of their constitutionally protected rights on public property, in that defendants, individually or in concern, ignored and de facto cancelled a duly issued permit without cause or notice, stopped the plaintiffs from hosting signs and posters, forced the plaintiffs to repeatedly change the method of protest, and following the plaintiffs without legitimate reasons during their peaceful protests and picketing.
And that's all I got on that one there. Let me go to the next one here. This is also from Newsmax.
FBI ordered to release files that called parents terrorists. By Luca Cacciatore, Monday, April 17, 2020. A federal judge ruled last week that the Federal Bureau of Investigation must provide documents related to a 2021 letter that called parents domestic terrorists. The agency initially described those parents, who were protesting issues like critical race theory, as serious threats in response to the National School Boards Association's plea for assistance. After the memorandum went public on October 3, 2021, backlash arose at Attorney General Merrick Garland's decision to create a task force to investigate the parents, which consisted of the FBI, U.S. attorneys' offices, and local law enforcement. The government watchdog group Protect the Public's Trust filed a Freedom of Information Act request days later for all documents or correspondence by the Department of Justice on the task force. However, Judge Trevor McFadden of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia wrote in a new order that the DOJ was dragging its feet in response to the FOIA request, the Washington Examiner reported. McFadden said that the FBI failed to prove the request was unreasonable and offered scant evidence for summary judgment, rejecting 2 motions that sought to dismiss the case or have it decided in the agency's favor. Although the NSBA has since retracted and apologized for the letter, Garland has continued defending it. He told the House Judiciary Committee in a 2021 hearing that true threats of violence are not protected by the First Amendment. "We are not investigating peaceful protests or parent involvement in school board meetings," Garland insisted. "There is no precedent for doing that, and we would never do that. We are only concerned about violence and threats of violence against school administrators, teachers, and staff." PPT informed the Examiner that they were happy with the court's ruling.
Okay, and there's more to read if you want to read more about it. It's not that much more. Actually, let me go on here.
There is evidence the FBI participated in targeting parents who protested to protect their kids, and their effort to dismiss this case could be an attempt to conceal the extent of their role in it, stated PPT Director Michael Chamberlain. Yet again, the FBI finds itself at the center of a Biden administration effort to weaponize the government against the American public, he added.
See, Biden is not for the American public. He wants to weaponize the government to kill the Americans, the way I see it here. Let's go on to the next one here. This one here is from Newsmax also.
WashPost's Rogin, Fauci lab leak denial was cover. Dr. Anthony Fauci intentionally steered the public away from the COVID-19 lab leak theory to cover the actions of himself and other members of the science community, Washington Post columnist Josh Rogin said in an interview. "You would never have a disaster of any kind, a plane crash, you would never have a nuclear plant meltdown and say, 'Oh, we don't need to know.' Oh, forget about it," Rogin said in the interview with Good Kid Productions. "You would never do that, it's crazy," he added. But even the new line from Anthony Fauci, now retired, is, "Well, anything's possible. I'm pretty sure it wasn't the lab. And anyway, there's nothing we can do about it, so everybody just move on." Rogan's comments come after Fauci, in recent days, has declared that we may never know about the origins of the coronavirus. He also said he has not seen any data for a lab leak, despite a determination from the Department of Energy that a leak from the Wuhan Institute of Virology was how the pandemic began. That is a retrenchment of the previous position of a group of scientists, of which he is one member, one influential member, who intentionally steered the media and the public, and the intelligence community, by the way, in the wrong direction, on purpose, to cover their own asses, Rogin said. Fauci, who is now retired as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and who has served as a White House advisor on COVID-19, has often cast doubt on the lab leak theory, reports Mediaite. Fauci told National Geographic in May 2020 that the scientific evidence is very, very strongly leaning toward this could not have been artificially or deliberately manipulated. Everything about the stepwise evolution over time strongly indicates that this virus evolved in nature and then jumped species. He also accused proponents of the lab leak theory of advancing a circular argument. Fauci continued to insist in congressional testimony about a year and a half later that even though we leave open all possibilities, it's much more likely that this was a natural occurrence. Rogin said he thinks Fauci has rejected the lab leak theory because promoting that would bring scrutiny on his record, including his support of gain-of-function research on viruses. On that issue, the lab leak theory, I do think Fauci, made some serious mistakes and continues to withhold vital information from the American people about how we got into this mess and what we can do to prevent the next pandemic, Rogin said. He also accused mainstream journalists of dismissing the lab leak theory of being all captured by their deep state sources. The problem with the mainstream journalists who cover this, a lot of them science writers actually, we didn't understand, said Rogin. We always talk about political bias and factionality and source capture amongst political journalists, which is true. National security journalists were all captured by their deep state sources, right? Some of that's true. And the science writers were totally captured by Fauci and Peter Daszak, the head of the EcoHealth Alliance, as their best sources, said Rogin. They told them that it was a conspiracy theory that it came from a lab. And they ran with it because they didn't know any better. After all, they were captured, Rogin said.
See, they didn't know any better, they said, so they just call it a lab conspiracy theory. You know, I hope they go after Fauci, retired or not. He need to be penalized for this. I hope they lock his ass up. Anyway, let me go on to the next one. He pisses me off. This one here from Newsmax.
Ninth Circuit tosses out ban on gas stoves. NA ruling on Monday. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit tossed out a ban on gas stoves in Berkeley, California. The court cited the Federal Energy Policy and Conservation Act as preempting state and local authorities from regulating natural gas, according to the Courthouse News Service. The ban, which had been instituted in the San Francisco Bay Area city, was challenged by the California Restaurant Association on the grounds that it would hamper chefs' ability to prepare food as they were trained to do, using natural gas stoves. Donald Trump appointee U.S. Circuit Judge Patrick Bumate, writing for the three-judge panel that made the decision, said, states and localities can't skirt the text of broad preemption provisions by doing indirectly what Congress says they can't do directly. Berkeley can't evade preemption by merely moving up one step in the energy chain and banning natural gas piping within those buildings. Conservative groups, including Reform California, welcomed the ruling, with Chairman Carl DeMaio saying, "We are thrilled with the Ninth Circuit Court decision because this decision not only will apply to these mandates on new construction, but will also block the costly home retrofits that a number of cities and counties have been implementing." The Ninth Circuit's decision could have implications beyond the city of Berkeley, potentially impacting other cities and states that have sought to limit the use of natural gas. It remains to be seen how the Biden administration will respond to the ruling and whether it will seek to continue its efforts to reduce the use of gas stoves.
You know, isn't it something that, you know, all these transportation company and utility company have been switching to natural gas instead of gasoline or diesel to power their vehicles? And now they're trying to get rid of natural gas. These Democrats are crazy, they really are. Biden is the main one. Let's go to the next one here. This is from Newsmax also.
Analysis contradicts claims on gas stoves. Dreams time. The type of food cooked influences indoor air quality more significantly than whether a gas or electric stove is used, according to an analysis of available studies and government assessments. The review, which found that cooking with natural gas is safe, disputes a Green Energy Group's recent peer-reviewed research that claimed nearly 13% of childhood asthma can be traced to the use of gas stoves, the Washington Times reported. The report, funded by the California Restaurant Association and backed by the California Building Industry Association and Catalyst Environmental Solutions, CES, said the type of food, specifically meat and cooking oil, does more to influence indoor air quality than whether a gas or electric stove is used, the Times reported. While recent media reports have suggested studies are increasingly showing a link between gas cooking and respiratory illnesses, our review of those and other studies does not support that narrative, said review co-author Daniel Tormey, CES president, the Times reported. We find the body of research on cooking and indoor air quality points toward the value of proper ventilation, regardless of whether an electric or gas stove is used. The Department of Energy and the Consumer Product Safety Commission, CPSC, currently are seeking ways to regulate or limit gas stoves. The Energy Department is looking at new energy efficiency standards for gas stoves that manufacturers say could double the time it takes to boil water, the Times reported. The CPSC, which voted recently to ask for public input on chronic hazards associated with gas stoves, is acting at the request of Commissioner Richard Trumka. Trumka recently called gas stoves a hidden hazard in response to the study regarding childhood asthma. According to the review of published data, conclusions from a widely reported review of study data produced in part by the Green Energy Group Rocky Mountain Institute are flawed. The new report says the 13% of childhood asthma figure comes from a study that combines data from kitchens in North America, Europe, and Asia. North American data alone did not show a statistically significant risk of asthma associated with gas stoves, the review said. Tormey and fellow co-author Steve Huntley said the data from the Rocky Mountain study tying asthma to gas stoves indicate that any effects may be due to the foods being cooked, or other confounding factors, rather than the fuel used. About 40% of U.S. households cook with gas stoves.
No, the asthma in childhood, do they think it's probably comes from secondhand smoke from parents smoking in the house around the kids? Or what about the different kinds of pans being used? They're just attacking gas stoves, It's just Biden crap. Let's go to the next one. Okay, this is from Bloomberg. U.S. charges 44 over Chinese harassment of dissidents overseas.
Sponsored content. Trending story. Bloomberg, the U.S. charged 44 defendants over an alleged Chinese campaign to harass its citizens in New York and around the country who espoused anti-government views, part of a broader effort to push back on Beijing's efforts to target dissidents beyond its borders. The defendants, who live in China and elsewhere in Asia, created fake social media accounts to intimidate Chinese dissidents living abroad and sought to suppress their speech on the platform of a U.S. telecommunications company that wasn't identified. They include 42 Chinese officials and remain at large. These cases demonstrate the lengths the PRC government will go to silence and harass U.S. persons who exercise their fundamental rights to speak out against PRC oppression, including by unlawfully exploiting a U.S.-based technology company, Assistant Attorney General Matthew Olsen said, using China's official name, the People's Republic of China.
And there's more on that if you want to read the rest of it. And I got more to go, and my time's getting a little short here. Let's see this next one here. This from the Telegraph. Germany will rue the day it catapulted to the anti-nuclear mob.
Sponsored content. Elon Musk is rarely short of an opinion or two and, true to form, this time last year he weighed in on Germany's highly fraught energy debate. The country was phasing out its nuclear power plants. Was this, he was asked, a good idea? Short answer, hell, no. This is total madness. I want to be clear, total madness, the billionaire entrepreneur told Die Welt. In my opinion, Germany should not only not shut down the nuclear power plants, it should reopen the ones that are shut down. The interview occurred just a couple of months after Russia had invaded Ukraine, and Musk's critique basically came in two parts. Germany's decision to shun nuclear power would be bad for the environment and bad for geopolitical stability. Listen, playtime is over, okay, he said. It's a national security risk to shut these things down. It's hard to disagree. Unfortunately, Germany did. Over the weekend, the last remaining nuclear power plants in the country were switched off. To do this with Vladimir Putin's troops still in Ukraine is a case study in irrational fear trumping a proper appraisal of risk. The energy trilemma that countries face is how to maintain energy security and reduce emissions while keeping costs down. Germany is failing on all three fronts. The country's environmentalists believe they have won a great victory. They may actually end up setting their cause back by a generation. A public backlash was starting to build even as the mothballs were being readied. 30 years ago, only 3% of the population. Elon Musk.
Okay, there's more to read on that if you want to read it. I'm going to the next one now. This is from Market Watch. U.S. Silica to raise prices up to 20% on products used in a wide range of applications.
Market Pulse. U.S. Silica Holdings Incorporated said Tuesday it will raise prices on most of its non-contracted products by up to 20%, starting June 1st. The producer of commercial silica price increases will be for products used primarily in glass, filtration, foundry, paints, coatings, elastomers, roofing, chemicals, recreation, building products, and other applications. These price increases are necessary to help offset significant and continuing cost increases in labor, transportation, materials, and manufacturing costs, the company said in a statement. U.S. Silica's stock, which was still inactive in pre-market trading, has slipped 1.5% year-to-date, while the S&P 500 has gained 8.1%.
And that's all I got on that one there. We'll go to the next one here now. Next one from news. North Korea's nuclear grew 75% over the past 5 years as Pyongyang threatens uranium enrichment facilities and nuclear reactors.
North Korea has increased its nuclear weapons arsenal by 75% over the past 5 years, according to a new study. New study by the Washington, D.C.-based Institute for Science and International Security found that Kim Jong-un's country has 72 nuclear bombs, which is up from 41 in 2017. According to the study, Pyongyang is using a mix of uranium enrichment facilities and nuclear reactors to produce 6 new nuclear bombs a year. This comes as countries like the United States and China have failed in diplomatic efforts to keep nuclear weapons out of the hands of North Korea. The study notes that the findings are somewhat vague as North Korea is developing larger and more complex nuclear weapons that require more plutonium and uranium. Aside from nuclear bombs, North Korea is growing its overall missile arsenal. According to the United States, North Korea launched 63 test missiles last year, more than double the most it had previously tested.
Okay, there's more to read on that if you want to read it. Let me see what this video says here.
North Korea says it tested a new solid-fuel intercontinental ballistic missile, the Hwasong-18, to, quote, radically promote the country's nuclear counterattack capability. Leader Kim Jong-un guided the test and warns it would make enemies experience, quote, extreme uneasiness and horror. State media released photos of Kim watching the launch, accompanied by his wife, sister, and daughter. The latest launch comes days after Kim called for strengthening war deterrence in a, quote, more practical and offensive manner to counter what North Korea called moves of aggression by the United States. North Korea criticized recent U.S.-South Korean joint military exercises and has stepped up weapons tests in recent months.
Okay, that's all I got on that one there. And we go to the next one here. Next one here is from The Insider. A man is suing Netflix for more than $1 million after it used his photo in an unrelated true crime documentary while asking, is this a guardian angel or a stone cold killer? Everybody's suing everybody nowadays. See what it says here.
A Kentucky man is suing Netflix over the use of his image in a true crime documentary, per reports. A picture of Taylor Hazelwood was used in a murder story he had no connection with, a lawsuit claims. The hatchet-wielding hitchhiker tells the story of viral star-turned-killer Kai McGilvery. Full screen. Kentucky man is suing Netflix after it allegedly used his photo without permission in a true crime documentary about a convicted murderer, according to multiple reports. Taylor Hazelwood is seeking more than $1 million in damages, saying the documentary The Hatchet-Wielding Hitchhiker portrays him in a sinister and defamatory light, the Dallas Morning News reported. During one scene, Hazelwood's image is on screen as a voiceover asks, is this a guardian angel or a stone-cold killer? The paper reported the complaint as saying. Despite this, his lawyer, Angela Buchanan, told BuzzFeed News that Hazelwood had no relationship to the subject of the documentary. The documentary focuses on Caleb Kai McGilvery, who became an internet celebrity in 2013 after he intervened in an assault, but he was later convicted of murder. McGilvery gained viral video stardom as a hitchhiker who used his hatchet to subdue Jet McBride, a man who gave him a ride before attacking a utility worker. Speaking to local media afterwards, McGilvery delivered an endearing homily about love and respect before saying smash, 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 to describe how he used his hatchet to intervene in the assault. But 3 months later, he was wanted for the killing of New Jersey lawyer Joseph Galfi. Despite pleading self-defense, McGilvery was convicted of first-degree murder in 2019, as the Washington Post reported. The documentary looks at McGilvery's path from video star to convict, using multiple screenshots from social media to illustrate, one of which, per the lawsuit, is actually from Hazelwood's Instagram account. Hazelwood was first alerted to the use of the image, which shows him holding a hatchet, when friends began contacting him after the Netflix documentary aired. WTF? Explain please, one friend messaged him, per the Dallas Morning News, citing the complaint.
Okay, and you can read the rest of this in my description box. There's not much more to read. I got one more for you before I quit this newscast for today. This one here from Radar Online. Ukrainian drone attack on Russia power stations leave thousands without electricity.
An alleged Ukrainian drone attack on 2 Russian power stations has left thousands without power, RadarOnline.com has learned. The alleged attack took place early Monday morning when 2 key electricity supply stations exploded in the Russian city of Belgorod. According to the governor of Belgorod, the alleged drone attacks were carried out on Russian territories that border Ukraine. In Belgorod and the Belgorod region, 2 fires were recorded at civilian facilities, the governor said. There were no casualties, he continued. All emergency services are on site and the fire is under control. Although Ukraine did not confirm whether its forces were behind the alleged attacks on the Russian power stations, Ukrainian intelligence chief Kirill Budanov suggested the blackouts were a result of Ukrainian sabotage tactics.
And there's more to watch on, to read on that if you like. Let's see what this video here says. I guess we won't. Anyway, this is Alan for today's news. I will be reading, speaking about world news, interesting news to keep you entertained, news to keep you informed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, at least come back once in a while. And I thank you for watching. Until next time.